presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Duck Insider.
These are good problems to have, right? So much success that you have more than one place to be.
Fly break, touchdown, Oregon.
Off a dribble, launches, and hits the three. Oregon leads.
What a great opportunity it is to be able to play at University of Oregon.
I'm just incredibly proud to be a part of something like this.
She wants another three. Oh, three in a row.
Swing and a miss. Oregon is headed to the Super Regional.
Fans being out there making this a great impact.
We are so privileged and so fortunate. We get to see all these young people. We get to see this incredible growth, which is what college is all about.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck Athletics.
We're closing in on Duck Football Game Day. Oregon heading to Wisconsin. I'm Joey Mack. Thanks for joining us. We're going to talk with the Badgers play-by-play voice in Matt Lepay here coming up in just a moment. Also, Oregon Volleyball. We still talked with Matt Ulmer on Tuesday, even though we had a basketball doubleheader. We've got his conversation with us coming up for you. Signing day review. We heard from some of the coaches yesterday. We'll hear from more of the coaches today. Head to GoDucks.com. Continual updates coming as the Ducks welcome in a number of new signees to the flock. Remember, though, Oregon football's signing day and the rest of the country's signing day. Really all we care about is the Oregon football signing class. Still a few weeks away. The Wednesday before the Big Ten title game is signing day for Duck football. Last night on the Oregon Football Coaches Show, fabulous conversation with Jeffrey Bassa. Hope you can check it out if you missed it. Go Ducks YouTube, look for the Oregon Football Coaches Show, or the Oregon Sports Network podcast, where we are also still posting full game broadcasts. By popular demand, we found a way to make it work for everybody. You can even look at the time codes and skip to where you want if you want to listen back to a football game, a basketball game. It's been fun to be able to do that via the Oregon Sports Network podcast. Also, some good news today. The NCAA has classified acrobatics and tumbling a little bit closer toward championship sport status. Congratulations to acrobatics and tumbling and all the work that's gone into the growth of that sport, and particularly here at Oregon. That's awesome news, as the NCAA has said they're another step closer toward championship classification. All right, let's hear from Matt Lepay, the voice of the Badgers. Oh, I also should say, sorry, already off the rails today. I also should say that we will have an early edition of Duck Insider tomorrow. We're flying with the team to Wisconsin. So Jerry and Jorgie will join us here in the Country Financial Studio. We're going to do the show from 10:30 to 11:30. For those of you who watch the show live, we're going to do the show from 10:30 to 11:30 tomorrow so that we can get on the plane and head out to Wisconsin. A 2:30 pregame show, a 4:30 kickoff scheduled for the Ducks and the Badgers on NBC on Saturday. That 2:30 pregame show also will feature a great conversation with Alik Terry. Ducks are up for the Joe Moore Award, offensive line, the best unit in America. Talked with Alik Terry after practice today. Great conversation. Now, the preview from the other side, voice of the Badgers, Matt Lepay. Great to catch up with the Wisconsin play-by-play voice. Okay, so this will be a little bit of a modification to our tradition. Matt Lepay, the voice of the Badgers, joins us. We've actually had Matt on the show before, but it was via a phone. It just doesn't feel like he got the full Duck Insider experience. So we have a tradition, Matt, that every time you come on the show for the first time, I ask you to tell your 2-minute life story. Now, we have a leaderboard, Matt. We're competitive. I'm gonna time it. Are you ready for a 2-minute life story?
That's a lot of pressure to start this segment here, but I'll try.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Grew up in Dayton, Ohio. A very average athlete, basketball and baseball player. Went to the Ohio State University, which they just love that up here, the Ohio State University. Moved here in 1988. Worked in a couple small markets, worked in Columbus for a while, worked in small markets, doing high school, football, basketball, a little baseball. But my first game as a basketball announcer was against the Oregon Ducks.
No kidding.
November of 1988, a Badgers win 36 years ago.
Wow.
Coach Munson,
Coach
as in
Munson.
Don.
Yeah.
Yep, back in 1988. So it actually made a trip to MacArthur Court a few years later. Wisconsin won on a buzzer beater. And then we were there a couple of years ago, obviously, for the NIT. But I've been here all along. Basketball, this is season 37 for me, season 31 as the full-time play-by-play guy for football. So I've been able to witness a lot of really good, a lot of not so good, and right now in the muddled middle. But as we always say, it beats working for a living. There are people who are doing things far more dangerous, far more important. We're game callers, so I'm still pretty lucky as long as they'll have me.
That was perfect. Minute 17.31. Well done. Efficient. It's like you're a broadcaster, word efficiency, Matt. I love it.
It's all about being concise. All about being concise.
That's right. I often joke that I talk about bats, balls, and people exercising for a living. I mean, it ain't bad. After nearly 4 decades. It ain't bad, is it?
No, that's what we have to remind ourselves, and maybe me, because I believe I am considerably older than you. I
it's all relative, Matt. It's all relative.
I remember when the Big Ten had 10 institutions of higher learning in this conference, and it was a little different animal. I remember when the athletes were not getting paid more than 75% of the ticket buying public, but they deserve to be paid. I believe that with athletes. And at the end of it all, with all the conference realignment and the travel obviously is going to affect you folks more than us. But it's still, there's an effect, but the games are still fun. I mean, the games are still exciting. The atmosphere, if it's at a football game, obviously out there, it's terrific. And basketball games and all of that, that's what we have to remind ourselves as broadcasters. There's still games, and it's different, but the games are the games, and it's still a lot of fun.
Well said. Well, there's been some great games between these two football programs, particularly in postseason play over the last few years, Matt. I mean, what sticks out for you and from maybe the Badger fan perspective when you think of Oregon versus Wisconsin in the last couple decades?
Yeah, a couple of distinctions with basketball. Obviously, Wisconsin in the Final Four runs in 2014, 2015, that had to go through Coach Altman's teams there, and there was that crazy comeback in Milwaukee in 2014 and then knocked them out a year later. Oregon got a little bit of payback a few years later, and then a couple of really entertaining Rose Bowl games. I'll use that term. I think Badger fans might curse me for saying that, but right. I thought, the game after the 2011 season, that was back and forth. Russell Wilson, for Wisconsin, a lot of weapons on both sides. And then 5 years ago, I remember walking out of the booth, and I was running into some Oregon people saying, "Boy, y'all gift wrapped this one." But Mr. Herbert doing what he did, taking advantage of some opportunities. But again, they were what Rose Bowls. Everyone that I've been around, either covering Wisconsin or even 30 some years ago, I was covering an Ohio State USC Rose Bowl game. Every one of those have been one-score games. So yeah. I just think of really intense, exciting games between the two programs. Even the NIT game a couple years ago, down to the wire. So that's what I think of when I think of Oregon and Wisconsin. Generally very entertaining and very close games.
I was talking to Jerry about this, Matt. You'll appreciate this, that it seems like in this world, right, I've gotten to know a lot of our brethren across this new conference, but you're one that I've talked to a few times over the last 10 years. I mean, it's just amazing how much the overlap has been, and Jerry agreed. Man, it's so cool that you can now see these sorts of matchups more often. To that point, conference realignment era, what's been the Wisconsin reaction to the conference realignment? What's your reaction to everything that's happening with this and playing Oregon in a conference game? Here we are.
Yeah, I guess they faced each other enough. Might as well be in the same league, right? If the game is gift wrapped or not. Did I say gift wrapped or gift wrapped too a few minutes ago? If I said gift wrapped, that's not impressive. I apologize to Ohio State for that and Wisconsin. The fan reaction to this, it was a jolt when the announcement first came down. They kind of buried it. It was going into the 4th of July weekend when SC and UCLA were coming in, and then a little while after that, the Ducks and the Huskies. Selfishly, as a broadcaster, it was exciting for me to call the game in the LA Coliseum. I had never been there. I've never been to Pauley Pavilion. Wisconsin will be making the trip out there for basketball in late January. Been to Oregon for both football and basketball. It's been a minute since the football trip when Joey Harrington was doing his thing. Right. Minimal exposure to Washington. In the early 90s, they played out there in football. Have not I don't think we've seen the Huskies in basketball. But my first thought was, it makes, like, for football, it makes sense. Men's basketball, you can make the argument, but how does that work for all the Olympic sports? Does it make sense? Can you pull this off? But I think the fans are excited because you get to see different teams. I think SC comes here next year. Obviously, you guys coming here this week. It's different, but I think for the older fan base, it's maybe a little bit more challenging to get used to. But I always say that the younger base, this is what they're going to be used to. This is what they're going to know.
Yeah.
So they'll be fine.
Yeah, it's an amazing perspective of relativity. I'm reminded of that every time I talk with, an 18-year-old basketball or football recruit, and we've got the Joey Harrington billboard poster up here in the studio, Matt, and not everybody knows that anymore, right? Like, it's just an amazing difference of generation. We continue with Matt Lepay, Wisconsin's broadcaster. All right, now preseason, what was the expectation for this Wisconsin football program? How has the season gone so far up against those expectations?
It's really interesting because going into the year, most people would say that Wisconsin could have about the same record as it had last year, but you could make the argument that it's improving because this year's schedule is daunting. Obviously, this weekend speaks for itself. It played Penn State. It played Alabama out of conference. Even the USC at the time, given all those weapons that the Trojans have offensively, that was considered a marquee game. So here they sit at 5-4, which is exactly where they were last year. But because Game 9 went so poorly in Iowa City, they were very competitive against Penn State, wore down as the second half was progressing. But they just got run over by Iowa. So they're 5-4 and clearly an underdog this week. So if it goes as most expect, Wisconsin would be 5-5, which is exactly where they were last year. But we all know the emotion of the moment in sports. There's a little bit of angst here. Like, how come they're not better? How come they're not winning one of these? They need a signature win. We all know that the mood of the fan base, the mood of anybody can change in 3 hours on a given game day.
Yeah.
But I think, even my own mind, I thought they were getting better. The Iowa game makes that a harder sell because they just could not. Iowa threw the ball 10 times all night, and Wisconsin could not stop the run. It made a lot of mistakes. Offensively, you have a couple of interceptions. And you just make life very difficult for yourself, which has been an issue for a few years with this program. I still believe they're a little bit better than they were last year, but this is a great opportunity for them to prove that, to be competitive and try to take this thing into the fourth quarter and see what happens on Saturday.
That's Matt Lepay. He's the voice of the Badgers. We'll have the call on the Wisconsin radio network coming up on Saturday at 4:30 kickoff. Tomorrow, again, early edition of Duck Insider. For those of you who watch the show live, 10:30 to 11:30, Jerry and Jorgie will join me here in the Country Financial Studio. Oregon quarterback Dillon Gabriel, recognized by another major award, the fourth time this week that he's been up for a major postseason award. Dillon Gabriel, a finalist for the 2024 Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award, presented annually to the top senior or upperclassman quarterback set to graduate with their class. One of 5 finalists, along with Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, Curtis Rourke from Indiana, Shedeur Sanders from Colorado, and Cam Ward from Miami. The winner will be recognized at a celebration in Baltimore on Friday, December 6th. Now, here's hoping that Dillon Gabriel will not be able to attend that ceremony because he and the Ducks will be preparing for a Big Ten championship game. We'll see. Dillon Gabriel up for another national award, and he certainly deserves it. We'll continue our conversation with Matt Lepay, the voice of the Badgers, when we come back to Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
More Duck Insider from the Country Financial Studios after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song. I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio, continuing our chat with the voice of the Badgers, Matt Lepay. It's been fun for me getting to, as I was saying to him, honestly, getting to know him a little bit more, and there's some good stories to tell. Some of the keys to this matchup, as well as we learn a bit more about the Badgers ahead of the 4:30 kickoff on Saturday. Our conversation with Matt Lepay. Though I feel like the reputation from the Oregon perspective, if I could, like the reputation of Wisconsin is the Badgers are always in games and they're always going to find a way to get one of those signature wins. That's at least from the Oregon perspective. And if you're the Oregon coaching staff, you're reminding your student athletes of that. I guess that is that a fair assessment under Coach Fickell even previously, that this team just always seems to find a way. They're always in games.
Well, there's been slippage there. Wisconsin has not beaten a ranked team in 3 years. And it was Iowa. When the Hawkeyes came in here ranked 9th, I think they finished 15th in the final CFP rankings. They've been competitive last year against Ohio State. They hung in there. Penn State, they're up 10-7 at the half, and then a pick six turns everything around. They're trying to get to that point. Long story, a little shorter. They don't fit that description in recent years as well as they had in the past. But I mean, if you look at this from a 60,000 foot view, whatever, everybody goes through this, or almost everybody goes through a little bit of a dip. Wisconsin did in the early 2000s. It's just a matter of what can you do to get out of it, and it's never fast enough. And I maintain that it could be harder to get out of the muddled middle, which is where Wisconsin's been the last few years, than it is to go from really bad to really good. What Indiana's doing is crazy this season.
Right.
But I'll say right now, in November of 2024, let's check back next year.
Right.
Let's see if are you able to sustain it. And that's, Wisconsin's taken a lot of pride in sustaining things, and 22 straight bowl games, and they really haven't had the severe dip. And they're not in a severe dip right now, but the fact that they're not getting appreciably better with the fans, sometimes not getting much better means you're getting worse. They're not, but the optics are what the optics are.
Yeah, it's amazing because, here I am talking about narratives and reputations, and, to your point, they've been consistently so good, right? That there's the outsider perspective for you, I guess. Tell Badger fans that the Oregon guy thinks that, Matt. See what the reaction is. I guess we'll find out. What's Coach Fickell want to do with this program? Everybody wants to win, but what's the identity that he wants this program to have here moving forward?
It's really interesting because they have this offense labeled the air raid, its air raid principles to the passing attack. But, Luke Fickell is an old nose guard, a real good one, I might add, at Ohio State, a state champion wrestler in high school and all of that. So he still wants to be very physical. It's still about the line of scrimmage. And I think the offensive line has taken steps in the right direction this season. Defensively, on the defensive line, they're thinner there. They just don't have the depth. They lost probably their best defensive lineman to an injury during training camp. That has hurt. But that's what they want to be able to run the ball. He talks about balance. And that means run it when you need to, where you want to, and be able to throw it when you need to. And that's still very much a work in progress. This team is averaging 25 points a game, that's been the average this decade so far. But my point here is, no matter what you label an offense, with him, it's still about being the more physical team. And that's what they're trying to get to. They're not there yet, but I think they have made some steps in the right direction. The last game notwithstanding, they have made some steps in the right direction in that regard this season.
How about defensively? Update Duck fans. What's been the report this year?
Well, they've been, the secondary has been good. Ricardo Hallman is a cornerback who last year had 7 interceptions. He's not getting a ton of opportunities to get those picks this season. They've been vulnerable against the run, though. And there were games where it looked like they were getting better. Some of that was probably the competition they were playing. They went through a 3-game winning streak. They beat Purdue, beat Rutgers, and beat Northwestern. But Rutgers, Kyle Monangai is one of the better running backs in the Big Ten, and they were really able to keep him boxed in throughout the course of the game. But then, Penn State was able to do some things, and then Iowa just ran wild. But that's been they're not a bad defensive team, but they had been so good for so long. Jim Leonard, defensive coordinator, Justin Wilcox for a year, right. Dave Aranda for a time as well. But they're giving up in that 21, 22 points a game. But the vulnerability against the run, that's been probably the most glaring thing that's been different, and not in a great way, for Wisconsin this season. A little bit last year, but more so this year.
Matt Lepay, voice of the Badgers, joining us. All right, larger picture. What's the view of Oregon from the Badger perspective? We talked about some of the matchups in postseason that maybe have influenced this. What's the view of Oregon right now for you and from a Badger perspective?
Really, really talented. It's been interesting because over here, and you all probably heard this forever and a day, the old Big Ten, Pac-12, Big Ten is physical, 3 yards cloud of dust. The Pac-12 is finesse, blah, blah, blah. And I'm telling people here, Oregon's both. It can be finessed, it can be pretty, but they will hit you in the face too, and let you, and then they'll do it again, and they'll do it again. The offensive line is, looks to be outstanding. The defensive line, all levels defensively. That's the thing that people here, I think, are learning. Is like, oh, these guys, they really stop people too. And the quarterback play, you can't ignore that. Dylan Gabriel is outstanding. He's got great weapons, and I know Tez Johnson has missed the better part of the last 2 games, but there are a lot of other guys who are really good. So that's been just what Gabriel has been able to do. And you look at the better teams in the country, just being a game manager isn't quite good enough. I think Gabriel can manage a game, but he's also a playmaker. And that's what people, they think of with Oregon. But they've always, they consider that team, certainly in the last 12, 13 years, when they face them with some frequency, or a couple times anyway, like, oh, they're really, really good. And they love the uniforms.
All right.
Uniform of the week, we're all kind of wondering what's it going to be this week.
We'll find out probably on Wednesday. Yeah. Okay, we're talking here on a Tuesday, so Badger fans will be able to see it on a Wednesday. Now, you talk about traditions, though. Shout at Oregon. I'm excited to see what y'all have in business or in store for us, the business of the game experience. Matt, what's Camp Randall going to look like here coming up?
Yeah, it tends to be a party. As I always tell folks, they have a great time. Sometimes they watch the game even too, which is good. But they a lot of singing from the student section, a couple chants that you probably don't want on your air, one in particular. But they love to sing their Sweet Caroline. You know, they go back in time for that song and a few other tunes that they'll serenade us with. The jump around at the end of the third quarter, that's what has become, you know, fairly famous across the country. Those who watch college football, you know, the song they broke it out in 1998 in a night game against Purdue. But that's a big deal. Even if the game, the one thing, if the game isn't going well or it's close, one of the problems they've had the last few years is that the opposing players are getting into it as well. They're jumping around to that. But the press box will sway a little bit. You might think you're getting a little earthquake. You know, if you have a cup of something, a water, soda, or whatever, it's gonna rattle a little bit.
Good note.
If the game is going well, it's a big deal, and then the fans will hang around. If the game's not going well, they'll hang around for that, and then they'll hit the exits. But it is cool. It's the thing about college football. As much as it's changing, we're becoming NFL light in a lot of ways. You know, to have shout at Oregon and you know what they do at places across the country. Was it Mr. Brightside at the Big House in Ann Arbor? Yep. You know, any number of places have traditions. The thing here, the jump around, season 26 of that. It's a pretty cool tradition.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more and more of those traditions. Just like you mentioned, you know, the experience to go to some of these places for you. I feel the same way. I mean, I'm checking off some bucket list broadcaster items and even just fan items. All right, to sum it up, you talked a little bit about being able to stop the run. Keys to the game. Wisconsin wins if what happens on Saturday?
Well, to me, Wisconsin, Oregon's going to come in with more talent. That's not breaking news, but we've seen Wisconsin teams through the years find a way against teams that are more talented. And one of the ways you do that is don't commit penalties. Wisconsin is among the nation's best at not doing that. A couple of weeks ago, the Iowa game was an exception. Both teams were a little sloppy in that regard. But don't turn it over. Wisconsin's a -5 in turnover margin. For Wisconsin to win this game, it first has to give itself a chance. And there have been gift-wrapped interceptions in this game, in this season. The pick 6 against Penn State. Wisconsin against Iowa takes 3-0 lead. You know, they get the ball, they get it to midfield late in the first quarter, and there's just a bad decision that's made, and it's an interception, and Iowa converts that into a touchdown, and then they're off and running. So don't turn it over and find a way to get a couple. They've only picked off 3 passes all season. But you know, try to win the turnover battle, which has been rare. Don't commit penalties and be able to run it. Be able to run the ball. Probably that old line is shortening up the game a little bit, which will be interesting because they do like to pitch it around with this style of offense. But somehow, some way, you've got to be able to get Tawee Walker going, Darion Dupree, get that running game going. And if you could shorten the game that way, that's not a bad plan.
Matt Lepay, he's the voice of the Badgers. He'll have the call coming up on the Wisconsin Radio Network this weekend. Matt, it's so great to catch up with you. Thanks for spending some time with us. I look forward to shaking your hand in person in the press box on Saturday.
Sounds good. Safe travels, and we'll see you on Saturday.
Voice of the Badgers, Matt Lepay, kind enough to join us this week. A lot of great insights. I saw Dave mention in the comments today, if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, that this is his favorite part of the week, talking with the opposing broadcaster. You know, I agree. Like, I love that perspective, and certainly we want to hear from Oregon and the coaches and student-athletes, break everything down, but I do like that other perspective, and now it's with a lot of broadcasters that are, 1, great, and 2, that we don't know yet. You know, I've learned some things about everybody, which is fun. It's a good time. When we come back, some news around Oregon athletics, National Signing Day. Also, Matt Ulmer's going to join us. He actually already joined us, but we're going to play his interview when we come back. Stick with us on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear autumn leaves, you won't be covering roads alone this season. Take on fall in the powerful Toyota Tundra or tackle trails in a Tacoma. Head to Toyota.com for more info. Toyota, let's go places.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Dear Autumn Leaves, you won't be covering roads alone this season. Take on fall in the powerful Toyota Tundra or tackle trails in a Tacoma. Head to Toyota.com for more info. Toyota, let's go places.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll realize that I lack a wheelchair-accessible shelter.
When the floodwaters rise, I'll be up in the attic with 20 cans of beans. It's a recipe for disaster.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Comes to a gun suicide attempt, all it takes is a moment.
My son, Ricky, took his life by the use of a firearm. It broke me, and I contemplated suicide. My grandson, I was gonna have to be here for him. I still own my firearm. I keep it in a safe because I want to keep my grandson and myself safe.
Store your guns, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo. Hear more safe stories at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
I'm coming home to the place that I remember. Back to the land of my first love. Would you spread wide your arms for this wayward son? I left my heart.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack with you in the Country Financial Studio. 10:30, we'll do the show live tomorrow. For those of you who watch the show live, everywhere else, normal scheduled time for Duck Insider. But if you want to watch the show live, we'll be here recording it and doing the show live from 10:30 to 11:30 tomorrow. Women's golf head coach Derek Radley announcing the addition of 2 student athletes to the Ducks 2025 signing class on Thursday. Sophie Hahn and Shyla Singh both inked athletic scholarship agreements to join the Ducks as freshmen for next season. Coach Radley said, quote, "I'm excited to welcome our 25 class to the Duck family. They both have extremely impressive junior resumes and have competed at high international level. They are going to fit perfectly into our culture. I can't wait to welcome them with open arms next fall." Also of note, 10 student athletes joining the acrobatics and tumbling team. National Signing Day coming to a close, announcing it all today. Coach Susnara said, "I'm so excited to welcome 10 new Ducks to our flock. We have a diverse group of athletes who are driven and passionate, and we are looking forward to training and developing their talents further. Good athletes, great people." That's a good quote from Taylor Susnar. Also, if you missed it earlier, some good news today. The NCAA said that acrobatics and tumbling closer and closer to championship sport level. Still a couple steps in front of them, but they're getting closer to NCAA championship level. We're going to talk with Matt Ulmer coming up in a moment. First, though, let's hear from Justin Jacobs. Some great updates from him talking with the media this week, zeroing in on Duck football as they face Wisconsin. It's going to be a good matchup at 4:30. I'm looking forward, selfishly, to jump around. I don't know if Justin Jacobs is, but he and the Ducks are hoping to force a few turnovers, as they've done the last couple weeks. Talking linebacker play, Justin Jacobs.
7 turnovers, 7 takeaways the last 4 games. What's been different? Have you guys been focusing on that more these last couple weeks?
Yeah, I feel like we just emphasize it every day, like attacking the ball in practice, coming up with things, whatnot. I feel like it's definitely an emphasis on us. Like we emphasize, like the more turnovers you give, the more likely that you're going to win the game. And I mean, as you see, it's been working for us.
You played at Camp Randall before.
Yeah.
What's it like? Are you providing any insight to your teammates as to what it might be like?
I mean, I told them. It's pretty cool experience. I guess nothing too crazy. I get to hear it jump around or whatnot, but I wouldn't say it was like my favorite stadium, so I haven't really been able to tell them too much about it.
What's it like facing a Wisconsin team, though? They kind of have known for playing a certain style. Can you speak to kind of what you see there?
Yeah, I mean, they still have that style, obviously. Like, they're a nice, big, physical team. Like, you see that whether it's offense, defense, or special teams. Like, they go out there to give 100% effort. And, I mean, as a football player, that's kind of like the matchups that you want. You want the physical matchups. You want to see who goes in there and performs no matter what. So, like, we're definitely ready for the physicality. And it's definitely something that we pride ourselves on and are looking forward to.
What do you see from their running back?
He's definitely a big physical runner, downhill runner. When he picks up speed, he can definitely go. So it's definitely another challenge for us that we got to come together and go ahead and stop the run.
What do you see from the quarterback?
Oh yeah, I mean he's a great player. making throws inside the pocket. So, I mean, just try to get them off the spot maybe a little bit. I mean, just make them uncomfortable all game.
You guys are wrapping up 8th game in 8 weeks, and nobody else in the country has to do that. As a player, do you start to feel that after a while, or does it even register with you?
I mean, honestly, you know, it doesn't really register. It's like I didn't know that until you told me that, to be honest. It's just we get in a routine, you know, come up here, you work, same thing every week. It doesn't matter like what everybody else is doing, you know, how like we say FIBA. It's just us versus us, so we just come in here every day just ready to work.
How are these trips gone? You guys have done a couple of these across the country now. Has it felt like people talked about it a lot during the offseason. Has it felt like it's been a big deal to you guys, really?
No, personally, I really haven't felt like it's been a big deal. Like, obviously, the time change or whatnot, but I mean, you're only dealing with the time change for a little bit. And, like, most games, I mean, if they're later somewhere else, they're earlier for us. So it's like, I feel like it's not too bad. I mean, I feel like the worst part is just getting back late sometimes. That's definitely not fun, but other than that, I feel like the trips aren't bad. We've had nice trips.
A blustery day on the microphone with Justin Jacobs, but you heard a lot of good stuff there, and especially I appreciate his honesty. Like, it is hard to get back late, but you do it. Similarly, Ducks are, unique in that they're playing 8 straight weeks and then the bye week next week. All right. All the more reason to keep that #1 ranking. When we come back, let's talk a little volleyball. The head coach, Matt Ulmer, next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
This message is for Shauna, my mom, who just finished her high school diploma. I wanted to say I'm so proud of you for finishing school. You taught me it's never too late to achieve your dreams. I hope to make you as proud as you have made me.
When you graduate, they graduate. Finish your high school diploma for you and for them. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You said you'd never buy your kid candy from the checkout aisle.
Or forget extra diapers.
You'd never lick your thumb to clean their face. Never, ever become a minivan mom.
So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, no, it can happen. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk in temperatures as low as 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You know you make me wanna take my heels up and throw my hands up and throw my head back and come on now, so good to see you real.
Back in the Country Financial Studio at Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Earlier this week, we sat down with Matt Ulmer, kept our Tuesday slot as the Ducks get ready to continue their season after facing some adversity, chatting with Matt Ulmer. So we're talking on a Tuesday. We had a basketball doubleheader. Matt Ulmer is here, Oregon Volleyball head coach. Hey.
Hey.
How are you? We decided to just keep the schedule consistent, so we're talking on a Tuesday, but airing later in the week, Coach. And I know you're a creature of habit. Coaches are creatures of routine. Student-athletes are creatures of routine.
I would agree with that.
How often do you break your routine?
If I do, you won't like me very much.
Really?
Yeah.
So you
I go to the
really
same place for
are.
lunch. Same time, same every. Yeah.
The same hair routine.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, why, if it ain't broke, you know?
Yeah, that's the Coach Ulmer that we know and love.
That's
right
it.
there. Oregon Volleyball head coach Matt Ulmer with us.
Very much so. Very much a creature of habit.
Are
Yes,
you?
Yes.
Is your team a creature of habit?
I think so.
Yeah. Everybody likes habit that works, right?
If it works, yeah.
But breaking bad habits is difficult too.
That is true.
Right?
Yeah, we work on that.
Is that coaching in a nutshell, trying to break some bad habits sometimes?
Yeah, that's like what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about that?
How about that?
Yeah.
How about that? Let's review the week.
Okay.
You faced some adversity, Coach. Just take fans through it. How'd you handle it? How do you think the team handled it? Open floor for you.
We had 4 injuries this week, which is just brutal. I mean, we've been real lucky here the past few years. We've had some things, but nothing real major. And this week, just all of a sudden, boom! I don't know. But again, what an amazing group they are. They love each other so much. They're working so hard. All the feels for everybody. And so we played Nebraska here on Thursday, and just trying to figure out what lineup we would be in. Which is not ideal when you're playing maybe the best team in the country, between them and Pittsburgh right now. And they're very good, and what a great crowd. Thank you so much, everybody that came. I thought that
Shout
was
out to
so
the crowd.
great. Yes, that was awesome.
Loved it.
A great atmosphere. Best atmosphere I've had for a volleyball match that I've seen at Matthew Knight.
Record attendance, by the way. So
Yeah.
shout out to the fans.
A little
well
over 8,500. Yep. But just so into it too. It was great. Like, just what a talk about vibes. Like, wow, that was really, really neat. That was the loudest I've heard it for a volleyball match, especially at the end of the second when we kind of got things going and we were in a tight second set. That was real fun. I wish we could have pulled out that second set. I think that would have been really interesting to see moving forward. I think that would have been great to give the crowd that. But lost to Nebraska, and again, very good team, and we needed to just execute much, much higher against them. We gave away too many points. But I think it was the lineup when I was looking forward. That was the lineup without Daly to go to the 6-2 and double sub with Sophie and Robbie. That was going to give us our best chance maybe against Minnesota, and then moving forward Northwestern SC this week, etc. So again, it was hard in the first set. I feel like there was a lot of tweaks. We were trying to work out a new system without practicing it, which again is not ideal at all. But again, proud of the team. Proud of the way they fought, even though we didn't execute well. I really liked our mentality. Again, we had talked about, I thought Wisconsin, we brought it, but did it against Pittsburgh and Penn State. But I thought we had the right mentality, and then that carried over. I thought to our trip to Minnesota on Saturday. I thought we were fantastic. We were in that 6-2, which I think was the right choice. It's hard to make a late change like that, but I think it made sense for the personnel that we had. And everybody I thought really brought it, and there was a sellout crowd there in Minneapolis, and Minnesota's a very talented team, and I thought we played a very complete match on both sides of the ball, and we swept them.
Yeah. So you face adversity, Coach. I mean, how does the team handle that? Because injuries are the worst part of sports, right? Like, it just sucks that you have to go through injuries before Nebraska. Then you have one in a match. I mean, just how does the team handle that? How do you as a coach maybe foster an environment where you can move through the adversity like that?
I think anytime you're in a hard situation, leadership is very important, right? And you want to provide a good example. So against Minnesota, Sophie went down, and so we were in that 6-2, and then we had to get back out of the 6-2, right? Because we lost Sophie to an injury. So, calmly try to take care of her and calm her down with what she's going through. But, trying to get her back to the training room so she could get looked at by the doctors, but then come back out and have a game plan. And it's only seconds for you to figure out, okay. And so, part of coaching is always trying to have your contingency plan of, okay, if this happens, that happens, what are you going to do? So you at least have gone over it in your mind. And so for me, had some ideas of what we would do if the next person went down. Unfortunately, that happened. Came back out,
but had to have that on the
but the assistant coaches were already there. Chid and Erica were right on it, and they had Izzy was ready to go and make the sub to put Chris back in and go back to the 5-1. And again, kudos to our group because they just kept plodding away and just playing their game. And I think Oni came back with a really nice slide kill to side to south. I thought that kind of calmed us down a little bit. And then I think Chris went back there and went on another service run.
Yep.
And again, so that could have been a time where we could have folded and really got into our feelings and concerns and all those things, and that could have been a very different match. But no, we came right back, and we really competed very well. And I know Sophie felt excited for the team, to come away with that third set win without her. But no, it was a really great team win.
You got to feel good as a coach that you can have something like that happen and then get a win. right? I mean, that's got to be pretty rewarding for you to see the team step up like that.
This is a really awesome group, just of humans. Like, they really care about each other, maybe more so than any team I've ever coached. They really do love each other. They're really much, I think, taking in every moment we get together, and they're fleeting. They go fast. Season goes so fast. But they've really worked as hard as you can ask. We've really come a long way. I'm very proud of them. But yeah, just to be able to handle those moments was very impressive. I just thought it showed a ton of their character, and continue. They were all in the training room today, checking on everybody and seeing how they're doing, and worried about their teammates. So again, I hope they get a ton of success because they really deserve it.
Oregon volleyball head coach Matt Ulmer with us. So Northwestern Friday at 6 o'clock at home, and then the trip to USC Sunday at 1 o'clock. With the way that the schedule, we talked about this a little bit last time, Coach. Just the way that the schedule deploys, it's kind of the 1-1, the back and forth. A unique challenge for your squad.
Yeah, we have 4 of those this season, which we've never done. Thanksgiving weekend when we would have Oregon State either home or away, we could potentially be on the road for one of those in the pack. But yeah, we have 4 of those this year, which again, from a school standpoint, it's been great because again, like last week, we didn't miss any classes because we went to Minneapolis on a Friday, and we don't really have Friday classes, so we play them on Saturday this week. And in 2 weeks from now, we play SC-UCLA on a Sunday with a home match in the midweek. So I think from a student athlete experience, from the classroom standpoint, like what a great idea by the conference. We do have more trips, but it's not bad when you're only these next 2 trips for us. The SC-UCLA is only one night on the road.
Right.
So I think it's overall best case scenario. I mean, probably the best we could do it. And again, I thought we had a late night against Nebraska, and then really early next morning you're heading up to Portland to go to Minneapolis. So it was a quick turnaround, but they handled it really well, and hopefully we can continue to do that.
That's great to hear for the team. And now, especially as you come down the home stretch, Coach, here's the obvious question. You've been in the 6-2, you've been in the 5-1, you faced adversity. So what's next?
Practice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's like the most honest answer you can give to that.
Yeah. Again, it's really important when you're, a philosophy. Our philosophy is we're training our student athletes to be the best volleyball players they can be.
Right.
And it's happened over the course of our time here where injuries have happened or things have happened, and all of a sudden you find people playing out of position, playing different positions. But if they're good volleyball players and they understand the game, you can plug and play in different places.
Yeah.
And hopefully not be in too much trouble. And again, so we had, Bella Gamacha and Izzy Patterson stepped in and just did fantastic in that match. Both of them had really crucial moments, especially in the third set, to beat Minnesota. And again, they hadn't gotten a ton of playing time this year, but what we say to the team is just always keep trying to get better because you don't know when your time's going to come.
Yep.
And here we are at a really crucial point in our season, right, as far as hosting goes. These are big matches for us, and they were ready to go. They stepped in and they performed, and again, just really happy for them. Again, just so much hard work goes into maybe it's just those few points, but those are massive points.
You mentioned like those where you are in the season. I know you're a coach that isn't afraid to talk about that. I mean, these are critical here because if you're top 16, that means you get to host. It's a huge advantage here coming, hopefully, at Matthew Knight Arena in postseason. Where are you at? How big of a deal is that for your team down the stretch?
Yeah, I think one of my goals for our program is that we can be hosting the first 2 rounds every year.
Yeah!
It's hard. It's really hard to do that. And again, the last 2 years were the first time we ever did it back-to-back.
Right.
And we graduated so many, so to be able to be in a position to do that again, I think, really just says so much about this group. And I think goes back to what I said earlier, just how impressed I am by them and everything that they've done. So, yeah, I think we're in a position to do that again, but there's still a lot of matches left, and we're going to have to figure out who we are, minus some people. But again, I still like us. I'll bet on us every time. I don't bet, but if I did. But I'm proud of us, and we just need to keep working.
Well, here's to getting healthier. Now, if we could kind of be volleyball X's and O's nerds here for a second. The 5-1 versus the 6-2.
Yeah.
Pros and cons in a vacuum.
Sure.
Not necessarily for your team. Just pros and cons in a vacuum first, and then pros and cons for your team.
Yeah, so for us, Michelle's been passing a lot of court for us. And against some teams, we can really read where their serves are going more. And so, we wanted Michelle and McKenzie to pass a lot of court. And so if you're in a 5-1 with Michelle in the front row for 2 rotations having to pass half the court now because you don't have Daly in there, for example, then it's going to make our offense really predictable. So we really wanted to have that third attacker. And that's where Sophie, we wanted to go the 6-2 route, so we had more options. We could still spread the floor more, even if they would try to attack Michelle with their serve, things like that. And then, again, if we're struggling now to maybe control the dig as much, then we need another out-of-system attacker. And so another reason for us to put Sophie in there. And, again, she was having her best match of her career against Minnesota. I think she was like 7 kills on 8 attempts or something like that with no
High
errors.
percentage efficiency.
She was great. Great. And again, totally bummer, ending of that match for her, but she was really fantastic. But that was the reason why. And then against, Nebraska and Minnesota in particular, they're very dominant. Their lefts are very good. So if we could get a little bit bigger block, which Sophie would provide for us, over Chris's block, who's not a bad or small blocker by any means, but just a little bit more size, a little bit more presence there. That was the idea, behind it. The downside of it is, again, you're switching your quarterback in and out, which, for a rhythm standpoint, not great. And then probably more for us is just we haven't practiced it much. So it's just not something you're used to. And then practice is kind of, funky when you have to practice a 6-2, and you're switching, setter hitter each side. So at least it's been a couple years since we ran one.
Right.
I think 21 was the last time we did it. And again, it's not my favorite, but I just thought based upon the personnel that we had and what we were up against, it was the right choice for us.
Yeah, from a setter's perspective, you talk about like the sub of the
we
quarterback.
don't like it.
I was going to say,
we don't like
you're
it
a
at all.
setter. I mean,
That's right. Absolutely not.
Yeah,
No.
I get it. I mean, it is a rhythm piece of the game, right? Well, I just thought that it was a good opportunity to go deep on the X's and O's.
Yeah, that's why we made that change. That's why we went that route. And again, I think it ended up being the right choice for us in that Minnesota match. And now, we really don't have that option moving forward because of some of our injuries. So at least for tomorrow in practice. So we'll see where things go from here on out.
Well, let's see what happens.
Yeah,
everyone gets healthy. You don't know. You're tough.
I don't know.
You're tough to scout right now.
That's right. Yeah, you have no idea what's coming at you. Because you know who else doesn't know? This guy. That's right.
I hate that we're laughing and chuckling about this, but
the other option is to cry.
Right.
So we're gonna have some fun with that.
I get it.
Yeah.
Senior night also coming up on Friday, huh?
Yeah, and what a great group this has been. So we're doing it before the Purdue. We have one more home match after this, but that last match is so we're doing our senior banquet on Saturday, and so the families could be in for the banquet and for senior night because the next one we have to leave to go to UCLA on Thanksgiving.
Right.
So that didn't really make sense for us to do the Purdue match, so we decided to do it this weekend.
I like it.
Yeah. And, again, we get to honor 5 great seniors that are on the team, and then also our support staff behind the scenes, managers and practice players, and it's 10 total overall, 5 players. So you got Michelle and Mackenzie and Colby and Oni and Daly. 5 great seniors that have done so much for us, some of them in just a short amount of time, but have made a huge impact. So it's a great group, and I hope everybody comes out and wants to cheer them on against Northwestern.
Yeah, a good chance for fellowship. Have the time when you have it.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Matt Ulmer, Oregon Volleyball head coach. Thank you, sir.
Hey.
Really
thank you.
appreciate you. Thanks for being here.
It was a little quiet in here, and I had no idea about this, so it was kind of creepy.
Yeah, the doubleheader for basketball.
Yeah,
so
I was there. I watched.
And we kept you going. Hey,
it was nice. I could go watch the women's basketball game, and then I came over here.
How have you been at practice? We understand that you've been.
I've had to step in because
we're
a little short on bodies.
Right.
I've been working out and trying to be in better shape, so I feel pretty good actually out there.
Good.
But
are you the best player on the court?
Excuse me?
Are you the best player on the court?
I'm not going to answer that. But I would never answer that. Yes. No, but I'm not used to seeing. We're a good serving team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
and they were picking on me, and so it's like I'm having to get some reps, like some extra reps, so that I don't embarrass myself. And
serve
I
and
can make
pass
it more
is a lot of receive and serve for you, huh?
Yeah, I just need to get out and get some more. Michelle's serve is nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's really humbled me. Yeah. So
good job, Michelle.
Yeah.
No,
that's great. I hope that. I want to lose every time in practice, but
you want to be giving
but
your
I will
best.
Not. But I will not lose. Yeah. But I want
That's like the proudest coach moment, right? When you are trying as hard as you can and you get beat.
And failing. Yes.
Yeah. Let's go Ducks.
That's right.
Get it done.
Yeah.
Get it done. Coach Ulmer, thanks for being here. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you. Go Ducks.
Matt Ulmer, humbled. Timeout. Coming back, wrapping up Duck Insider next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
August was born 3 pounds, 9.8 ounces. When I first saw him, it was a whole range of emotions. There's stuff I still want to do. Being a young dad, it's not giving up. It's shifting. I looked through his eyes. I can envision a whole future with him already. To throw the first football to him, give him ice cream for the first time. My life is now devoted to his life.
Through all of fatherhood's firsts, never stop being a dad. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Final segment of Duck Insider here on the Oregon Sports Network. Getting ready for the cross-country West Region Championships tomorrow. They're in Washington. Not a long trip for Oregon cross-country. Ducks for the West Region Championships. And if you listen to Coach Schumacher in one of the videos that the social team released for Oregon cross-country today, you do it all for November. That's when you get the postseason for cross-country. Good luck to Oregon cross-country tomorrow in those West Regionals. Also tomorrow night, Northwestern in town for Oregon Volleyball, facing the just talked with Matt Ulmer's Oregon Volleyball team. 6 o'clock tomorrow night. I hope to see all of you at Matthew Knight Arena. I, however, will not be at Matthew Knight Arena because we're on the flight. Ducks against Wisconsin at 4:30 in Madison on Saturday. 10:30, we'll do the show tomorrow. We've also got Oregon Volleyball in action at 1 o'clock on the road on Sunday, and Oregon men's basketball back at home at 2 o'clock on Sunday. See you bright and early tomorrow.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home,